You're live.
Okay, welcome, folks. House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It is Wednesday, March 11th. It's 10:15, and we are working on H-294, which is dealing with telecommunications within DOC. We have with us our Ledge Council with a new draft. It is draft 3.1. So, John, welcome, and give us a walkthrough and what has changed, what's been added.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So John Gray, Office of Legislative Counsel. Good to see you guys. Despite my earlier proclamations. I'm going to screen share.
Well, he's on Zoom, he's on YouTube now.
How do I feel about that, Jeff?
You weren't part of the, you weren't here to be addressed. H-294. So what you'll recall from before you took last week off, there have been proposals to add in a wage impact report to tweak some of the language related to capturing kind of non-financial benefits in the analysis of telecommunications evaluation, and then adding in a stakeholder engagement piece. So that's what you're going to see in this draft. I've slightly restructured the draft. Previously, this was one section that was just a telecommunications evaluation report, and it included the intent language in that section as a subsection. Now, because there are really two reports included, they're conceptually distinct reports. I've separated these out into just different sets of sections. The intent language can be thought of as broadly applicable to the bill itself, I think, because each of these, creating conditions of incarceration necessary for rehabilitation, mitigating disruptions to connections, divesting from the for-profit prison industry, and informing correctional policy decision-making with data and agency expertise. I think all of those are equally applicable to both reports, as we'll come to. So no reason that needs to be included exclusively with the telecommunications evaluation. So section 1 is exactly as you've seen before. It just now has its own section header. Section 2 is the telecommunications evaluation report. All changes are shown in highlight. So in the first instances, the sets of examinations, evaluations within the report are exactly the same as we discussed before the break. But on page 2, you're going to start seeing some changes. So among the measures considered for cost analysis of different telecommunications service models being evaluated, one of these was a more generic call out for under subdivision F, starting on line 5, any anticipated benefits or savings. You may recall that before the break, we talked about some of the broadness, the breadth of the pre-existing language, which I believe was societal, behavioral, or public safety impacts, which was quite broad. There was some concern about both the breadth and also its specificity. So whether or not it made clear that security and safety concerns were supposed to be considered both within and outside of correctional facilities. So this language tries to address that, and it tries to pick up some of the directives that DOC was mentioning. You may recall that you heard from Haley Summers some specific things that the department would look to if they were considering public safety and other impacts. Those things would fit within this language. And so the proposed language here that tries to be generic but more closely aligned with what the committee was seeking is unanticipated benefits or savings, including reasonably ascertainable behavioral, security, or safety impacts, both inside and outside state correctional facilities. So it makes clear the locations you're looking to, and it tries to focus more acutely on security and safety, which I think were the concerns that folks were largely coalescing around. I know that there was some discussion of isolation within the ward, within correctional facilities, which would be captured under this behavioral call out. So this is the proposed language to address that previously quite broad language, but happy to hear if folks have questions on this piece.
So how do we look at it outside of the correctional facility? Are we looking at that through the lens of the family members who have access?
So I read this.
and not the general population of us.
I think I would classify it as sort of circles of support. How, right, I'm anticipating, that increased connectivity, is gonna have an impact both inside and outside on the people who wish to stay connected with
The-
these folks.
Yeah. So when you say, because this would be both for the behavioral, security, or safety impacts, which is very clear inside the facility. That's really clear, but when you say outside the facility, what are we encompassing there? And if the intent is just for that circle of support for the inmate,
I think about I think Kids Apart program would probably have their fingers on that pulse of, are the kids and the family members that they're attempting to stay connected, keep connected to the incarcerated individual, feeling an impact based on more access to, in this case, telecommunication.
So another way to do this, if you want to be specific, is make clear that that is the explicit directive. This could be changed to be including reasonably ascertainable impacts on behavior, security, safety, and supports for incarcerated persons or something like that.
Sure.
Might be a cleaner way and more direct way. It just depends on the kind of guidance that you're trying to provide, because here we're just talking about including language. So this is just giving an indication of what, you guys want to see coming back. I've tried to draft it broad enough that they can include what they would like, but should pay attention to these particular factors.
so this is what would go into a report. This isn't what's going to go into actual statute.
For sure. Yeah, this is just
The committee.
this is the cost analysis.
This is we're not amending the green books. Okay? This is what's only going to be coming back in a report.
Mhm.
So,
Something around like the sustenance of support systems, something like that, right? I don't know if we want to do improvement, but sustenance. I don't know if there's a better word than that, but
continued sort of
Main-
support for the inmates.
yeah.
You're smart, John. You can figure.
Have full faith.
I appreciate it. I feel so
It's not the world of finances.
Empowered.
It's corrections now. Different world.
yeah, I think we can do something like including reasonably ascertainable impacts on behavior, security, safety, and maintenance of support systems or something along those lines.
Yeah, you're close, if not there.
It would be lovely over time for that to include reduced recidivism.
Recidivism, yeah,
I mean, that's what I consider outside, yes. Be in a cohesive environment, but
yeah,
I'd like to see return dropping. Because the networks are maintained.
so if there's appetite for that,
That's
you throw in recidivism rates, but
what we're looking at.
That's hard to quantify that it was being, I mean, that the recidivism rate, which the definition is going to change, which we're going to have an update on that this afternoon. But there's so many factors that play into that. It's not one specific thing or not. More tools, the more.
yeah, I think if there's a practical constraint that you run into, and this can occur for multiple of these, we talked before about the timeline, right? You're getting this report in advance of next legislative session. But you wouldn't know some of these things except across a multi-year process of evaluation. So that's also why the reasonably ascertainable qualifier is important, yeah. Because you're not going to be getting back things that can't reasonably be.
Anything else on this one? So John can go wordsmith.
is there appetite for the recidivism rates? Sorry, just
I'm not seeing it. People are quiet. That always makes me nervous. Seeing it.
okay. I'll keep going then.
Yeah, okay.
We have a new subsection B starting on 14. This is your stakeholder engagement piece. And these are the recommendations that Representative Hedrick provided to me. So starting on line 14, in conducting its evaluation of options for providing no-cost telecommunication services, DOC shall, when practicable, consult with the following stakeholders: Department of Public Service, that'd be your utilities and the like, Office of the State Treasurer, JFO, one or more nonprofit providers of corrections telecommunications services with operational experience. On page 3, representatives of families of incarcerated Vermonters or organizations representing those families, community-based reentry service providers, justice reform organizations, the Prison Research and Innovation Network, and any other stakeholders or subject matter experts identified by the commissioner as necessary for the evaluation. Again, there is the qualifier as practicable. So while you do see that this is a long list, it still leaves it to DOC to determine whether or not it is reasonable to engage with all of these folks. But supply some guidance as to, hey, these are the people to look to.
Why do we include the treasurer, state treasurer?
No, I
What?
guess there was some sort of, like, in my head, I had this is important, we're gonna fund this. Sort of like similar to how, yeah, but I'm not married to it.
I mean, I can understand. It wasn't the Department of Public Safety, it was the PUC, wasn't it?
That's public service, right?
The public.
Public utilities.
Utilities.
PUC, if you want to. say
It's
that.
not under the Department of Public Service. I mean, they're their own well. The public service is there for the ratepayers, supposedly. PUC regulates.
So PUC might be better here.
Rather than the Department of Public
Yeah, it's
Service.
PUC that sets the rates.
That's something of.
Yeah, it's gotta be PUC.
And I'm not married to the treasurer.
I'm not, I, a treasurer. So this is in conducting the evaluations for providing no costs, which ties into A. Representative families, so we understand that connection, community-based reentry service providers. What justice reform organizations are out there?
Well, I mean, I think
There are tons.
yeah, you can put ACLU in there, you can put prisoners' rights advocates in there, you could put, yeah. I think keeping it broad is. And again, I'm not. The big ones on here for me are like, let's get a handle on reentry providers and what it would be like. You know, to gauge an impact that this would have on reentry. I think print it's an obvious one and easy for us, and families. I think that's an important consideration here. Those are the big ones for me, but then there's some obvious ones as we're looking to potentially move to a nonprofit or no cost calls system. There's probably some folks here who should weigh in. JFO certainly.
Are there folks on this list? Let's not all be quiet here.
I think it's solid. I could lose treasurer. That's
Yeah, I kind of don't know why the treasurer has to, like, if the treasurer's on there, why aren't we like adding everybody in state government? It's like, that seems like a little overkill.
I agree.
Strike it.
Change the public safety to.
Yep.
And PUC, that's all. So 18 goes, line 18.
Fair enough.
And I like the qualifier on here as practical.
Yeah,
The way it's written.
Yeah.
Okay.
practicable. That allows flexibility, doesn't lock them
No,
up.
I agree with that.
Okay,
Okay.
see,
Subsection C, this is on line 8 on page 3. DOC shall provide to the Joint Legislative Justice Oversight Committee for the committee's analysis and input. First draft of the report on or before September 15th, 2026, and to an updated draft of the report on or before November 15th, 2026. Those were the dates we discussed before the break. I will note I waffled on what to do with the qualifier for sub 2, updated draft. I initially had near final draft, but I wasn't sure if that was really fair or, so I tried to use language suggesting there needs to have been progress made and hope that folks take the cue from the fact that the actual deadline is 2 weeks away
Right.
to constitute sufficient incentive for an updated draft to be a near final draft.
If that works. Sean and
Troy, so with the November 15th date, I'm just wondering why I guess that's not to us.
no.
That's joint justice.
So,
Because the final report is due December 1st to us. The whole committee, this committee. So this is to keep them aware the legislature is looking at them. So you've got to report to joint justice off session.
and okay,
Right.
so you think that so that us not being in session is okay to get this December 1st?
Right,
That's what I'm getting at.
right. You've got joint justice who's going to keep an eye on it to make sure
Okay.
they're doing the work.
That, okay, I didn't know if you wanted it to be like January 15th, so we're in session and they can
No,
come
because
to us.
if there's any legislation that's needed,
We want to kind of
you've
get,
got to get your drafting
gotcha.
requests in. You can wait until the 15th of January because that's beyond the date of getting your drafting requests.
Exactly. I would love if we could put January 15th for these because it gives everyone more time to supply the reports. But it creates some issues with meeting drafting deadlines. And additionally, it often creates holiday work for folks too. Instead of
And you
Gotcha.
got a brand new biennium, and so you got new members,
okay, thanks.
and
Yes.
old members may not be there.
Okay.
I think you need to add a state private contractor to the list of stakeholders there, because if you're going to extend this benefit to people in state, you'd probably need to do it out of state too, right? So when you need to consult with Core Civic to see how they would make this
So you're
happen.
back on
Yeah, sorry.
B. You're back on B,
Yep.
so add a new stakeholder, which would be Core Civic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you kind of have to, don't you? It's, unless you're just planning to
Yeah,
do this in
well,
state.
this is evaluating the impacts of current. The wrong one. Well, it says communication services to inmates in state correctional facilities. That's what it's on page 1, section 2. The report is evaluating options for providing no-cost telecommunication services to inmates in state correctional facilities. So that is saying folks who are housed in our current facilities. It's not.
Change that to under supervision of the Department of Corrections.
Well, you can't say under supervision, then you've got field service, you got probation,
right.
parole.
Incarcerated.
Incarcerated by the Department of Corrections.
You want to include the out-of-state folks.
I mean, you know me well enough to know that if we're creating this benefit for in-state folks, it's got to be a benefit.
What was the testimony in terms of how telecommunications provided to folks in Mississippi? It's the same as what it is in our facilities?
I don't think we got a whole lot.
We never dove
Oh,
into
that
that.
question was asked. I
It
know
was
we asked.
asked, but it was never answered.
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't think they could give us specific dates.
So we've got to flag that. When,
I would prioritize the people out of state because they're further from their
Well, that's what
families and need it
we-
more. Yeah.
So instead of,
we got to talk to Haley when she comes back.
but instead of it qualifying this as in-state, do we qualify this as anybody incarcerated by the Vermont Department of Correction?
I mean, that sounds good, Troy. I personally, I didn't read it to think that it didn't include our folks in Mississippi.
It could
It does
certainly be
not.
added that.
If you go to
read that.
page 1,
Yeah, I'm on.
line 15.
And I read that line, but that, to me, that just wasn't indicative that it only includes
It does, because it says state correctional facilities. That's only ours. It's not, we don't have a state correctional facility in Mississippi. We contract out with a company for it, but we don't have that. It's not a state correctional facility.
So let's do what Troy said.
So I can make that update, but it also sounds like you guys want to hear.
I want to hear from DOC in terms of how they're handling phone calls now with Core Civic. I'm not opposed to including everything, but I think we need to know that background right now.
Do you want me to hold off on adding that until you've heard that?
Yeah, Haley, she had to go where, downstairs?
Yeah,
She just had to go to
center.
Senate.
She said she was coming back.
Yeah, she'll come back. Why don't we just kind of keep it where it is at this point, just to wait until Haley comes back, and then I don't want to make a change without knowing what current practice is.
So the next piece is a new report to this draft. Section,
So
yep.
before we go there, did we want to include in its evaluation to include Core Civic? Is that what you were also?
As far as the stakeholders?
Yeah,
I think, yeah, they need to, if they, yeah.
so did you get that one, John?
Did you want a specific call out for a specific organization? Of course, I'm not familiar, but
Right,
yeah.
we contract with Core Civic to
To any
have,
contracted facilities currently.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's gotta be broad, yeah.
well, we gotta be
Right.
careful because we have some folks who are in interstate compacts. We gotta be careful with that
Well,
because they are housed maybe in a federal system. Or some of them may be housed in a maximum security system because we don't have that level of security. So we have a few folks who are in the interstate compact, which is kind of a contract with other facilities.
But
and then
not in Mississippi.
But not in Mississippi.
Um,
Welcome to the world of corrections.
Yeah.
We pull off one layer of the onion and it opens up another thing.
How many people are part of that interstate compact?
Oh, I can't remember.
Were we
It's
talking
very
like
small, it's
single
like
digits,
20,
20?
Okay,
25. It's
Oh.
very, very small.
I didn't even realize.
Oh, yeah, but it's part of an
Yeah.
interstate compact, so we could have someone from another state housed here in exchange.
Gotcha.
So it's different than our contract with Core Civic.
So can I ask a question? How does those 20 or 25 people that are part of that interstate compact, are they included in this?
We'd have to ask Gail
I
Haley.
can't remember
I
if
can't
they're
remember.
subject to that clause that requires, I mean, and we know it's not working at Mississippi anyway, but that anything Vermonters get, out-of-state folks get.
I don't think so, because they would be under, it would
Yeah,
be under, if they're in a federal
That's what I
facility, they're under the federal. If they're interstate compact, I would think they would be under that particular state's.
I agree.
And then the person that, from that other state that comes here, because it's kind of a swap, they would be, I think, more subject to us, but that would be something to ask Haley. So you only want to hit Core Civic, I mean, you just lay out the name Core Civic, because that's who we contract with in Mississippi
So I can just add them directly.
as a stakeholder.
And the other thing I would note is that on page 3, what you see here, line 6, sub 9, if you included that, I think it makes clear that you're trying to hit folks of that kind. And the commissioner, if certain parties are necessary for the evaluation, they're going to include.
Necessarily.
I mean, under 9, they
You would hope.
meant to, but yes.
I think it would be good to lay out for Civic, because then it's a flag that we have 150 people right now
Okay.
who are housed down there because we don't have the capacity for them in our current facilities.
Simple enough.
And they are under our practices down there. They're not under the state of Mississippi law or Core Civic. They're under what we provide.
The next piece is on page 3, your new section 3. This is the wage impact evaluation. So starting on line 14, same due date on or before December 1, 2026. DOC shall provide to the same committees of jurisdiction a written report evaluating the impacts of current wages for inmates in state correctional facilities. And I don't know if you would want to make the same update to that lead-in language if you're making
Yeah.
it for one. But depending on whatever happens there, you may want an update.
They have
Similar.
wages paid
Yeah.
for them down in Mississippi. I don't think so.
I
do
don't think
they?
it's.
They work, I know they can work. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Imagine what the hourly there. is.
Well, it would be the same here because
Oh,
it's
well,
under
yes.
our jurisdiction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's under us. It's not under Mississippi because it's not
So
a state facility.
I'm sorry.
The report would evaluate the impacts of those current wages and would specifically on line 18, collect and analyze the current wage level for inmates. So just get that data. 2, identify the categories of labor performed by inmates that support department operations. Those are things like food and custodial services. And then estimate the cost to the state of providing those same services, but using state employees or contracted vendors, including wage and benefit costs. So this is a consideration for you subbed out those services that are currently being facilitated at lower wages, presumably through inmates.
So there you're only looking at work that is performed to support the department.
That's right.
So you're not looking at license plates.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I think we should include that. Any work performed, have some language.
We used to do a lot more than just license plates.
And send you some language that I have in 919.
Okay. So potential update to that.
Or do you just want to look at it? It's H919 is a short form.
Okay.
Do you want to just refer to it?
Yeah, I can look at that. 919.
Yeah. I
Okay.
can on that.
Look at that. On page 4, assess the relationship between current wage levels and participation in facility work programs, considering the ability of work program participants to meet basic needs, purchase commissary items and telecommunication services. So I take this to mean it's kind of asking an incentive question. Do folks participate in these programs if the wages that they're earning are or aren't able to support them in purchasing or meeting basic needs? That's how I understood the request, but happy to pause on this one because I'm seeing some confused looks.
Let's really read this language and understand it.
Another way to put it, I don't know if it's what the committee is looking for, but assess the incentive impacts to engage in facility work programs given different wage levels, essentially. That's kind of the way that I,
It defines in line 5, meet basic needs.
I wonder if on line 5, considering the ability of work program participants to meet their basic needs and ability to purchase commissary items kind of defines the better.
I thought of those as the same thing, but I'm happy to add those words. I don't see those as substantively different, but if you guys find it clear, I'm happy to do that.
I'm reading this in conjunction with 4 because 4 has some other stuff that is equally important for me to measure. Especially with maintenance of family contacts, especially victim restitution and support obligations. I'm thinking specifically about somebody who becomes incarcerated that had obligations to provide support to family or kids. So all of this is, I'm not suggesting we combine it, but I'm saying when you add 4, as we're considering 3, it becomes a more complete picture for me, and the need to change anything in 3 is lessened for me.
Yeah. I mean, again, these are suggestions I had taken from Representative Hedrick, so I don't know what the committee as a whole is hoping, what kind of information you're trying to gather, but
Basic needs, right? So if we keep in mind that corrections is coming up with this report, if I'm at BOC, we already meet their basic needs, 3 square meals, we give them, a certain amount of telephone calls to keep in touch with their family. So I don't know if basic needs captures what we want to say here.
Yeah, I mean, you could just cut, because I think the same concerns are captured by the purchase commissary items and telecommunication services. In part, I say that because I think the thought is exactly what you say. If the claim is just the basic needs are already met, the argument that you guys have been having is that you really have to use your money to purchase commissary items and the like to go beyond what is
Right,
provided by the
right,
facilities.
right.
In which case, considering the ability of work program participants to purchase commissary items and telecommunication services captures the same thing I think you're trying to get at. I mean, maybe the point here is the basic needs has a political feel to it in a way, or is clearly raising kind of political concerns. And I guess you could ask the question whether or not you want to do that, or if you just want a clear directive,
Be a loophole.
I'm good striking that. And just keep it to purchase commissary items and telecommunications.
Yes. I think that works.
Yes.
So just like got me basic needs and.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You guys are getting the gist of markup. Took you a while, but you get it.
44 years.
Eating it into our.
I'm gonna keep beating it.
Yeah, you got to.
Well, look what happens on the floor.
You need to understand the language.
Yeah, to that end, and I admit my attention was distracted, so I apologize when retreading ground, but the first clause there, up into the comma, it makes a lot of sense to me if we say we're assessing the relationship between current wage levels and the ability to purchase commissary items, telecommunication services. The participation in facility work programs confuses it for me. It makes it seem like we're talking about the relationship between the wage levels and participation.
That is the way that I understood it, but maybe I just don't have enough policy background to understand. I had taken it to be like, are folks motivated? Like, could you change the participation levels with wage levels, basically? And so is your ability to purchase commissary items and the like factored into your determination
Right.
as a person in an incarcerated
Because I thought I
facility?
understood from testimony before that work programs are basically fully subscribed. There's nothing else to do. You might as well make a book. Is that not true?
There's not much work programs in there. You're basically doing laundry. You're working in the kitchen, custodial,
And license plates.
license plates. I don't know if they even include them to do any maintenance at all, like out in the grounds or anything. I don't think so. It's pretty limited
But I
available.
would agree if the committee thinks that what you're trying to get at here is the relationship between levels and ability to purchase.
Yeah.
Right? If you're both trying to draw that out as just we're gonna make you say this thing, and then also have data on it, you could eliminate the participation and just say assess the relationship between current wage levels and the ability to purchase commissary items and telecommunication services. It's a different consideration.
Yes. Well, and Troy, I guess I'll go to you, but like the participation part of that clause on line 4 feels like a way of making this feel relevant to DOC. Right? Like you guys need to care about this too, because maybe you have unfilled positions that would be filled if you paid people properly.
Right. Testimony has indicated that that's not the case.
Right.
I do want to hold on to the point you made, right? Often it's indicated that, how did you state it, that there's nothing else to do, so I might as well make 65 cents an hour. If you added to that, the fact that it's not going to be 65 cents an hour, but it's going to be a different wage, an improved wage.
I assume
Does it interrupt or does it impact that dynamic, right? Yeah, so it's all of it for me, but
I mean, if you raise the wage level to these jobs that are already fully subscribed, or maybe they're even oversubscribed, I don't know. They're going to continue to be fully or oversubscribed.
right. I remember asking the question of, wouldn't it be possible we have this many of hours of work needed, we have this many people to do it, can we just divide it up amongst those who want it? Right. So instead of 5 people working 20 hours a week, you might have 20 people working 5 hours a week.
Right.
And the answer was, yeah, we could do that. I mean, it didn't go much further than that, but.
And
James,
Actually, they just
then
had a
Kevin.
conversation that I wanted to mention, so.
okay, Kevin?
And do we, whatever the wage is, do we want to somehow understand that they're paying child support before they buy honey buns? Or is that none of our business?
As laid out originally, this improved wages and created funds. One would be a restitution fund, one would be a savings upon release fund or family support fund, and one would be for use in commissary.
So I don't know right now even what happens with someone who has child support payments. I mean, they're not making anything.
Right.
At all.
The original bill contemplated that though,
Right,
that
but I mean, right now, the
increased wages
status
means
quo is
increased.
that they're not paying child support right now because they're not having an income.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they do not, from my understanding, from what I remember, they do not pay child support when they're in DOC.
No, well, they don't have any
Well,
income
yeah.
coming in. So, that's where the families get slammed. When someone becomes incarcerated.
Well, I asked the question because when we have taken out meeting basic needs, but if the concept is we need to increase the wage, then I would think that we would want that wage to go to appropriate priorities.
Yeah, that's what's tried to capture in 4.
Yeah.
Maybe we flip 4 and 3. So 3 becomes the one about family contacts and support obligations. And then 4 becomes the assessment of the wage levels.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because the person that's probably exiting the facility is going to be dependent on family that's out there, especially if they have children. So keeps them in a stable situation so that when they re-enter society, it's set up.
I think flipping 3 and 4 helps cabin 3. Yeah.
So do we keep, in the current 3, do we keep participation in facility work programs? For Brian's concern, bringing up that the wage levels is about purchasing commissary items and telecommunications services. Is it also, if you have a higher wage level, is there going to be more participation in the work programs? James?
Well, I don't know if I know about the wording necessarily, but I like the idea of, even if it's fully prescribed, are more people volunteering for it? And that kind of gives us some good information about, it gives us good information, so it does.
So I have a proposal then that maybe can do all of these, which would be happy. So we can flip 3 and 4. We can cut to meet basic needs from existing 3. We could cut participation in facility work programs. So 3 would now read assess the relationship between current wage levels and the ability to purchase commissary items and telecommunication services. And then 4 would become estimates the impact of wage adequacy improvements on outcomes for inmates, such as maintenance of family contacts, compliance with restitution and support obligations, reentry success, and participation in facility work programs. And compares different wage impact scenarios. So you build in the participation in facility work programs as one of the improvements in outcomes for inmates that flow from wage adequacy improvements.
I like
that.
You put that at the end of the old 4.
Yes.
It will
After
now
reentry
become the
success.
new 3.
Exactly. Although I think the need to flip them is lessened now, but since I've already accepted it, I'm going to flip them anyway.
Speaking of somebody we need to talk to, she just walked back.
Welcome.
Oh, Haley, you do like.
Love to hear.
You're such a good.
Yes, you are.
Look at this.
He often has to remind people of it.
I know they're all in here right now too. Ladybugs.
They're not
Ladybugs,
ladybugs.
or whatever they are.
This was the question we needed to ask.
Yeah, I know, I want to do this thing.
Oh my
turn right
God,
side up.
really?
Yeah, someone bite my eye.
They're not gonna do anything. I can't get them right.
No, they sting. Yeah, I was gonna say it's
No.
one
Yeah, they
sting.
do, those yellow ones
Do
do.
thing and
Yeah, they
they
stink.
I
pain in the butt.
We went to get you.
Like, that's hilarious.
So Haley, we have a draft of 3.1 on H290. Does someone have a paper copy they could hand to her quickly at all?
Copy is the.
Yeah, I have a copy that you sent.
So Haley, we have a question on, I'm gonna go to page 1, line 15. This is a report that's due for evaluating options of no-cost telecommunications services to inmates in state correctional facilities. So that only includes inmates who are housed in our facility, not Mississippi. So currently for folks who are in Mississippi, are they under the same contract as what we have for our Vermont inmates in Vermont, or is how is that operating for Mississippi?
I think it is different. And I could get those details for you, but I don't have them.
So you think it is different? So our concern is, should the report also look at evaluating options for providing no-cost telecommunication for those folks in Mississippi as well? And how that would look like. It would look different than what we're looking at now for in-state, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of.
That just came up.
I think it would be worthwhile to add some sort of clause that specifies it includes individuals who are, you know, in the obviously not interstate compact. I think that's very niche, but individuals who are in the out-of-state facility in Mississippi that.
Of course of it.
I don't have any issues with that,
You might. if
as
you
long
bring
as
Bring it up, bring it up, fly it up your flagpole to make sure.
Okay. I mean, I think doing an impact assessment in general, the kind of sentiments would be the same for folks who are here in Vermont and individuals who are in Mississippi. I don't think that the contracts are exactly the same, or perhaps there are some things that the folks in Mississippi get that people don't hear because they're so far out of state. So I think it's measurable to add this. And I'm happy to run that up if you would appreciate the confirmation.
I would, and I would also appreciate to know what is current practice right now. So that also leads into the interstate compact.
Yeah,
So when a person is in the interstate compact, they're in usually state or federal run facilities, and then it's based on the federal, and then it's based on that current state policies.
yes,
So it wouldn't be Vermont policies at all,
yes.
those interstate compacts. Is there usually a switch of folks, if we send someone to, say, Illinois, a federal facility in Illinois, would we get a person back? Or if it's a state facility, would we get one of their folks back?
I think that has been the same in the past. I don't know that that's true for every instance, but if you are seeking that confirmation, I'm happy to get it.
Just curious, because that's new to the committee.
I will say, and that it doesn't seem as though this is something that the committee wants to include in the evaluation. Okay, then I'll say.
It's just Mississippi, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
So if you could just look at that and then get back to John on this, know whether or not to include language that includes our out-of-state beds in Mississippi with Core Civic. And then under the stakeholders, which is on page 2, which starts on line 14, that's who DOC would consult with when practicable. We're changing Department of Public Safety to the PUC Commission, Public Utilities Commission,
Okay,
taking out state treasurer. And we're adding Core Civic because you gotta be, if we're gonna look at our out-of-state bid in Mississippi, it would be with Core Civic.
yeah, I mean, we're happy to consult with them. We do have a contract in that what we tell them to do, they do. But we're happy to consult with them. If the committee wants that language, that's fine.
So if you,
Go ahead,
if you told them we are now doing, just hypothetically, I know we're not getting there, but if you told them we're now doing no cost calls, they would have to do that.
Yeah, and DOC would still absorb those costs.
Right. Okay.
That would be part of the contract. So do you still want to highlight out for civic?
I don't see why.
I mean, it's all as practicable, right? So like, I don't see the harm in having them on there. Because some of the logistics could be something worth discussing, even if the cost is absorbed.
I assume it goes without saying, but if all of this were to happen, including here, including there, we can make whatever arrangements with whatever provider we want here, but we're not going to tell Mississippi what to do operationally, right? So they're going to keep whatever their current setup is and we just eat the charges. Is that basically how that would work?
I think without having enough details about I can't answer that. I can't right now, but happy to.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you would kick in with your evaluation.
Yeah.
That would be
So
part
we
of
can
the
answer that.
evaluation.
In our report.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Can I ask a question? I'm hoping someone can elaborate I know what a community-based reentry service provider is. I'm curious what,
What page in what?
it's page 3, line 3. Curious what the intent is for adding that, because it's quite broad.
Your justice centers, community justice centers.
Okay.
The intent is to get a sense of whether or not reentry providers in general would anticipate a positive impact
Mhm.
from this sort of legislation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to think of who we would consult for that, but we'll figure it out.
I mean, I think you could, I think it's broad enough to
Yeah.
put Dismas House in there. You could put,
Yeah.
right.
Sure. Thank you.
Like, does this,
Pathways.
does this anticipate an improved reentry process? If people come out with, in this case, having better connections maintained.
Sure.
So another question, Haley, that we have, we're on bottom of page 3, the wage impact evaluation report. Again, it's only for folks who are in our facilities. So are there are there some work programs down in Mississippi? And if there is, are they paid the same amount as being incarcerated here?
There are work programs out of state. I think that they might be somewhat in parity with what's offered in state, but maybe somewhat more limited. I can't speak to the wages right now, but I can ask.
Can you figure that out? Because we want to maybe include the out-of-state beds in Mississippi in this as well for the wage study. And when you find out, can we just reach back to John so that he can incorporate that language or not?
Sure.
And what else? Is that it? And then in the 3 and 4,
Going to be changed.
we're gonna be changing that. First thing we're gonna do is flip it. 4 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 4. And we're gonna change the old 3. We are going to delete the meet basic needs and we're also gonna delete participation in facility work programs. And that piece, we're gonna add to the end of the old 4.
So basically 3 would be assess the relationship between current wage levels and the ability to purchase commissary items and telecommunication services. And then existing 4 would become estimate the impact of wage adequacy improvements on outcomes for inmates, including participation in facility work programs.
Sure. I will say that the estimates for this section will be slightly more speculative than in the previous one because I don't know that there are any states to look to that have gone to this model yet, whereas for telecommunications, there is. So I can't guarantee how concrete of information that we'll be able to have for you all. I just want to put that out there.
That's correct. So I want to go back just to double check on the telecommunication for the time frame for the report that's due December 1st, but we have 2 check-ins to joint justice. The first draft of the report would be September 15th. And then updated draft for the report is November 15th, which is 2 weeks before your final report. It's just those check-ins, and you know how joint justice works.
That's fine. And my understanding that intent is just so that joint justice can engage in that conversation.
And make sure you're doing the work.
Yes. That too. Yeah, those dates are fine.
Anything else? We miss anything? So you have enough information for a new draft. We're gonna wait for information from Haley about the out-of-state beds for how it works with the telecommunications, possibly. And definitely for the wages in terms of whether to expand that. Anything else from the committee on this? Anything else from John?
Folks are the hope is to potentially vote this tomorrow. Is that the thinking?
I would love it if we could do it, get it
If I
out
may.
of here.
Close.
So the earlier you can do it, get ready for tomorrow,
Okay.
the better.
So at this point, it's just been in the form of draft language. I would now put it in the form of an amendment. It'd be a strike all amendment to existing 294. So just confirming that you don't want any other pieces of existing 294 as introduced. Or other things in there. Good. Okay.
That's it. The strike all. Connor's been willing to report this,
Happy to do it, yeah.
What do you got?
and John, you're good at this. Is there anything in the no, is there anything in the bill as introduced that deals with money? For appropriations?
One second.
Fees that might kick it to Ways and Means? Anything there in the original bill?
I didn't know that, Chair. So it's the original bill that matters, not how
Yeah,
it ends up.
it is the original.
It's the original bill. Yep. Telephone calls at no expense.
The only thing I can think of is potential impact on the license plate program, because that generates,
Generates revenue.
yeah. But I'm just doing this in my head. I'm
Yeah,
not,
well, I'm looking at any language that might trigger. Compensated at a rate that's equal to federal minimum wage. Separate fund.
Depends how broadly they,
No,
like there's a conceivable way to interpret it where you say it does go to.
to let the House court determine that, but there's nothing that raises, there's some potential.
In any event, the amended version would be a simple thing to describe if it ends up in.
Right. But it's the underlying bill that triggers.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? So as early as possible tomorrow, if we could get final draft, would be terrific.
Do you want to? I guess it depends. There's some answers we'll need on pieces, but are you shooting for? I'm generally flexible tomorrow, is I think what I'm offering. So if you want us to do this in the morning, assuming we have final confirmations, we could try to do that.
You mean answers to the pieces that you're
Yes.
hearing from DOC?
I've just reached out to our subject matter expert, so hopefully we'll have that soon.
Yeah, so if you get that today,
Yeah, I think that's.
tell me you need it today, and then we could do it. Any word back on WellPath for tomorrow?
Yeah,
We're just trying to figure out a final time, but it would be in the morning.
Would it be at 8:30 or more, 9:30, 10?
seems like Dr. Yulger is freest at 8:30, but we might not have DOC representation at that time.
we'll talk without her.
I mean, if that, it's questions for WellPath, so if that needs to happen, that's fine.
Well, WellPath is the one that's gonna be providing the medical services
right now.
right
yeah.
now, but their contract is up.
So if it needs to be just WellPath, I'm not too concerned, but we're still kind of waiting on the.
This will impact when John can come in.
Their time though.
I am strangely flexible tomorrow, so.
Well, we want to get you in here when we can.
Maybe shouldn't have announced that, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah,
Strangely is the most important.
I find it surprising, but yeah.
So the section, just looking at how the section is structured, it's medical care. And it would be department as contractor, ensure the use of licensed healthcare providers with cultural competency. So who determines that? That would be WellPath, right? Or is that DOC's?
It's not clear in statute.
Department or contractors would ensure inmates access to all necessary appropriate medical care, routine preventive medical care, affirming medical care, including mental health care. And then the admission, screening and assessment, does a physical assessment. That would be,
That's WellPath.
that's WellPath. The department shall search or physically examine inmates for the sole purposes of determining their genital status. That's DOC. When can DOC, you're still trying to figure out when DOC can come in?
Yeah, we can definitely be here tomorrow, and I know we're here this afternoon too, at least Josh is.
Maybe we'll have, I wonder if we'll have time to get into that this afternoon with Josh. When Dr. Hewliger is available, we need him.
Yes.
So
well,
that's a priority. So he's available more at 8:30?
Yeah.
So after 10, can we do you, John?
So,
That makes sense to folks?
Mhm.
I think 8:30 to 9:30 is too tight.
Mhm.
I think we can From an hour and a half.
Cool.
At 10. And then hopefully the draft is in decent shape that we can vote it out, or maybe there'll be 1 or 2 weeks, and you should put on the agenda possible vote this one.
Perfect.
Anything else before we break? Come in anytime, John.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
We'll see you shortly, Mr. Bray.
Yeah, I will see you guys.
So we're done here on YouTube until 1 o'clock. So we're back here at 1, folks. And we're gonna pick up gender equity. So